Is Santorini Port overrated? That's the question we're tackling today, fellow cruisers. Hey everyone, I am Thea of Traveling with Thea, and I love cruising and helping people plan trips. So I'm here to share some great tips to make your travels even better. Ready to learn how to have an amazing trip without any hassles? Today we're going to cover all the pros, cons, and pitfalls to the Santorini Port. And if you stay to the end, I'll let you know how you can win a free cruise. Now let's dive right in. Santorini, with its iconic whitewashed buildings perched atop towering cliffs, is a dream destination for many. But what about the logistics of getting there? Is the process of navigating Santorini Port as magical as the island itself? For starters, Santorini is a tender port, meaning that accessing the island requires a transfer from your cruise ship via a smaller boat. This process can be slow and sometimes cumbersome, particularly during peak tourist season and windy days, which happen often. Your cruise line will list when tender tickets will be handed out, and you will need to pay attention to the announcements and get in line early to get your tender tickets. Once ashore, travelers are faced with the daunting task of ascending the cliff to reach the main town of Fira. There are several options available, from climbing the approximately 600 steps to riding a donkey or taking a cable car from the old port up the mountain to Fira. Each method comes with its own set of challenges and rewards. First, let's talk about taking the steps. These are not U.S. or Canadian or British government regulated stairs. They are steep, slippery cobblestone that are uneven and covered in donkey poop. Yes, you heard me right, donkey poop. Also, the donkeys have no concept of personal space. They are sharing that same stairs up with you and not always being polite. We heard some crazy stories from fellow cruisers about taking the steps, from falling to getting bumped by donkeys to sore knees, which was the most common. So if you plan on taking the stairs, make sure you're up to the task. The next option is riding a donkey. There is a lot of controversy on this one. In the spring of 2019, Santorini officials banned overweight guests from riding the donkeys. But since I like to steer clear of controversy, you guys can Google it yourself. Your next option is to take a water taxi over to Athinios Port, and you would do that from the old port. Once you get off from your tender, there are stands there that will point you to the taxis. That port does have a road connected to it, unlike Fira, so you can get a bus from there. But if you think it's going to be flat, smooth walking, you would be wrong. But it is much easier to walk up than the old port, which is where the cruise ports come in. Athinios is also closer to Oia than Fira, which are the two main cities on the island of Santorini. Fira is the capital. Both are beautiful though. Your next and most popular and best method for anyone with mobility issues is the cable cars. The cable cars connect the old port with the top of the mountain and Fira. The cable car ride is very quick and cheap at only €6, but the lines can be brutal. The line can take from a half an hour to 2 hours to go up or down. But before I get into some tips on how to maneuver the crowds, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for watching and invite you to join the Traveling with Thea community. It is free, and all you have to do is hit that subscribe button and head over to Facebook or Instagram and follow me there. I love to talk about cruising and would love to have more cruise lovers around. So one way to avoid the wait for the tender tickets and to avoid the whole stairs, donkey, cable car mess is to take a cruise ship excursion. You will usually take a private tender that will be reserved just for your excursion, so you don't have to get tender tickets, and then be taken over to the Athinios Port, which is across the bay, where you will board a bus. We went to Oia and had a little while to walk around, and then we were dropped off in Fira. Both cities are absolutely beautiful, with those beautiful whitewashed buildings and the blue domes, but the crowds were overwhelming. And although with an excursion, we avoided the getting up the hill to Fira, most excursions do not take you back down to the ship. So you had to find your own way back, either by donkey, the 600 stairs, or the cable cars. We chose the cable cars and waited an hour and a half in a huge line. Even though we went in September, it was still extremely warm. Fortunately, I had my handy, rechargeable, portable fan with me. It was a godsend. I made friends with all the people around us in line by sharing my fan. I will link it in the comments below. It really is a picture-perfect place if it weren't for the crowds. One way you can gauge how busy your day will be is to go to cruisemapper.com. Click on ports, choose Santorini, then choose your month and check the number of ships scheduled in port the day you were there. We had 6 ships the day we were there. I've heard there can be as many as 7, but I can't even imagine. Tempers were flaring from people not being able to drive on the streets because there were too many tourists to people trying to jump in line for the cable cars. I've heard of fights breaking out in that line. I am so glad I did this once. It was totally a bucket list trip, but if I do it again, I will only get off the ship if there are less than 3 ships in port. Now that you know how to navigate the port of Santorini, do you want to know how to win a free Disney cruise? It's super easy. Just go to my website, travelingwiththea.com. I'll put a link in the description box below, and you'll see a pop-up window that says you could win 2 magical Disney vacations in one. Just fill out your information and you'll be entered to win. There is no need to buy anything, and the rules are on the website. Good luck in the contest, and until next time, happy cruising.